pass from Havili was magic. The shift on for Crotty. Boom, far down you go, Quackett Smith. Me, oh my, I have enjoyed that. Yes, boy.
Sit back, relax, put your belt on, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Draft Rugby Show, where we talk all things fantasy rugby, the game they play online in heaven. I'm your host, Cargie, back after another week off, leaving you in the semi-capable hands of one Nelson and Harry Dale. And look, I was off busy personally hunting down my fantasy side and whipping them into gear. Obviously, it worked. Got the top score this week. So I'm back, boys. The Rocks or Diamonds are back. But look, finally, my boys delivered. And look, speaking of delivering, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Harry and Nelson. And look, frankly, before I say hello, boys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nelson certainly has been delivering this fantasy season, this 2021. Harry and I called him the prince that was promised, the Jordan Uwalisi at the start of the year. And unlike Jordan, he has actually delivered. So, Nels, mate, how have you done this in 2021? 8-0. How's it happening?
Mate, it's a simple equation for me. Prior to getting captaincy, getting married, I was making the finals. I think it was the first 4 years or the first 5 years, the grand final. And then I got married and became captain of my rugby club. And I was too dedicated to useless parts of my life. And I have focused purely on draft rugby, where it all matters this year.
So is what you're saying that Harry has not been a very faithful and husband in the last few years, and this year perhaps he's stepping up, and that's why he's not succeeding as much on the fantasy field, but just he's really stepping up in his relationship. Is that what you're saying, Nelson?
It's not that he wasn't faithful in previous years. I think he was the right amount of faithful in previous years. His first love was draft rugby, but this year he's distracted by actually doing more work. He never seemed to do work in previous years. So he's actually busy this year. So I don't know what your excuse is, because you don't seem to be doing anything and your team still sucks.
I don't have excuse, man. It's Rocks or Diamonds. It's how it works. It's come up Millhouse finally. But Harry, you've done very well to stay silent this far in. Mate, how are we doing? You've dropped as low as 4th on the OG League table currently.
Wow.
What's happening with you?
Look, it's a heartache, mate. If you're in the bottom of the top 4, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been lower than that. So this is a real all-time low for me. I'll be honest, I have not had a chance to scratch my bum. So this is about the only free time I get all week. And that's happened for a few weeks in a row. So actually drafting live at trade night helps a lot, I think. But that's about it. Yep. I'm hoping things get better if I somehow get some free time. But look, if I can scrape through 4th, that means I get to beat Nelson in the semi-final. And wouldn't that just be sweet?
That's true. We'll all have counted for nothing. So, no, very good. Well, look, I think you're lucky earlier in the year to have bagged a win against Nabung, younger Nabung, C. Nabung, the last year's champion, because he got you this week, and certainly a player that we'll talk about, particularly hurtful with a score for you against you this week. But he it would have been 6-0 otherwise, I believe. So, no, good on you. I think we wanted to get him on the pod last week to talk up the battle.
But it's not. The streak is way over, mate. Like, come on. Let's go on. The Waratahs would have been a one win in a row this week if they didn't lose on the weekend. Who cares? Yeah. Move on.
Sure, it's all about the stats. Well, anyway, I was just going to say quickly, thankful to the lesser Nabung new bum for joining us once again, the super sub, and filling in for me. So let's get into the pod for tonight. Draft Rugby round 8, the main talking points. Chiefs beating the Crusaders. I mean, is there a bigger talking point than that? 1 point, huge. What did you guys think?
Mate, look, it was pretty awesome to see. We talked about the Chiefs very early in the season, saying they were underrated. They had a couple of results not go their way to begin the season, and now they are 4 in a row, 4 on the trot. And the Crusaders, they haven't looked like the typical Crusaders. Harry's about to pull some magic off here. So quick, so smooth. What's that jersey, Harry?
I did tip it, mate. I never lost faith in the Chiefs, boys. Never lost faith. So very happy with the result.
What's on the back of that jersey?
What's the back of it?
Yeah.
I do know the answer to that.
Yes.
The great man. The great man.
One of the best fantasy players ever.
It's back
There it is. Benny Tamiafuna. I was just going to say that jersey might be a little dated, and it also might be Mike, but that's all right. So,
Fit Harry Snuggling.
is it 4 in a row for the Chiefs?
It is 4 in a row. They've beaten them each in a row.
Huge. How much of that do we attribute to Damien McKenzie? Do we just 100%?
Well, mate, I'm going to touch. I'm going to touch on him later in that match, and I'd like to touch on him in person as well. He's doing pretty well.
Very good. Other main talking points. The Tars talk about blowing it.
I think Nelson tipped the Tars, didn't you, Nelson? Didn't you have them as winners?
I think so. I think I did. And look, I mean, if it wasn't...
Didn't I laugh in your face and say they suck?
Well, I think they did enough to win that. So
but they lost.
No, Horton lost.
They look, they struggle at throwing in a line out, and that some would say that's why they lost the game.
I'm confused. The locks from the Tars have been good for a while now, and yet they didn't even jump against the Western Force. Like, Katu'u can't throw straight. Why wouldn't you jump?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm going to rip into Katu'u in a little bit, but he's been talked about a lot in the recent week, but yeah, we'll get to him.
Very good. Yeah, and the Brumbies, they were gifted that 6-point wing. Brumbies gifted the 6-point win against the Rebels after the Falcon try assist. Tamua kicking the ball into Josh Kemeny, massive Falcon, and thank you very much, Brumbies, in for the try assist. That was pretty funny. So it was kind of a game of comedy of errors, really. But again, a round of a lot of really tight fixtures. It is actually, I have to admit, apart from the Tars really sucking, it's really great to see such close and intense rugby. Like, the results the last few weeks have been insane. I can't remember it being this close for a long time.
It's honestly, I think having the domestic leagues really, really important. I think in our dessert, we're going to try and touch on what we want from 2022. But I mean, a spoiler, I want to have some of this going forward.
Very good. And rounding it out, the other fixtures, the Highlanders beating the Blues. What happened there?
I guess the caption from this one is, when can we put Para-franchise back at 10? Like, how long is it going to take for everyone to start listening to us that Aotearoa Black is not that good at fly half?
Man, I thought you liked Para-franchise back at 15. I've said it all along. Para-franchise at 10, Zahn Sullivan, bring him straight into fullback. Let's do it. Come on.
I don't care who goes to 15, man. I just like Para-franchise. I think that's where you're getting misled. I love him. He's the best. That's why my team was named after him. Put him at 10 or 15. He's like Josh Ioane, but without getting on benders every single Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. To our knowledge, we shouldn't assume.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's alleged. Yes. Anyway, very good. All right. Well, look, that's those are the sort of bigger talking points. But let's go through our individual talking points of this round. Harry, what did you have from this round?
I mean, we touched on it already. First of all, Tom Horton's throw. Like, I was watching that game thinking the Tars were going to win. Donaldson, really exceptional performance from him. And then we got to a point where we had the opportunity to get out of our half, take the kick to touch from a long arm penalty, which is the right decision. And then Tom Horton just throws it over the entire line out. So you can't blame anyone else for that. That is an atrocious throw. And then crap footy from the Tars. They tried to hold them out. Fair enough. It's not like they just gifted them the points, but let's be honest, the Western Force aren't actually throwing too much at you in attack. And then in the end, we can see them lose the game again. We have no idea how to win. I guess it shouldn't frustrate me so much, or it wouldn't have frustrated me so much if we lost this game by a few points, because I don't expect that much from the Tars. But it is frustrating to see us improve so much and then still blow it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, where's the ICAC investigation or whatever? How much money did Tom Horton have on the Force to win that game? You know what I mean? Like, clearly, just the end of the game, just whoop, see you later, son. But anyway,
he did his best Fileti Katu'u impression. That's what I think he was doing.
Tell us about Katu'u. Come on, mate.
I was going to go into him when we talk about his points, but look, Katu'u, there's been so much smoke blown up his bum in the last week. I honestly, I've never minded him as a player. I think he has some real strengths. I think he has some real weaknesses, and I don't think his weaknesses have improved whatsoever. Yes, they got 13 out of 13 lineouts this week. That's just because the Tars did not compete. Every single time I looked and actually paid attention to the lineout was not even remotely close to being straight. It was thrown directly to the lineout jumper again and again and again. If the Tars just put someone up, they would have been penalized for not straight repetitively. So I also, that try, I brought it up in our group chat. The only other place I think was one of the other podcasts.
Yeah, they which was it? The Ruckamore or something?
Yeah.
Pick and Drive.
Pick and Drive brought it up as well. And they're the only other people I heard talk about it. You cannot pull a ball from someone else. You cannot maul a ball and actually tear it away from someone else if you are in front. It is technically a forward pass. It can't happen in a maul. It can't happen anywhere else. It is illegal. It was blatantly illegal, but no one has discussed it or mentioned or brought it up anywhere else. I seriously don't get it.
Did you look at the laws after we talked about this? Because you had a lot of prep time to get onto this.
It's a forward pass.
That's a no. I didn't look at the laws, but I'm telling you,
No.
that's what it is.
No, it's a forward pass. It cannot happen in a maul. It cannot happen outside a maul.
Have we seen this has always been a contentious for one for me at rucks. You know how you see players like Nazarani or
that's a penalty again
in front of a ruck, and they have the ball right behind them,
Yeah.
and then they pick it up and dart forward.
Yeah, because you're offside when you're getting the ball. The ball is being transferred to an offside position.
Yeah,
you cannot do it.
So let's wrap that point up though, Nelson. That was his one great run that I think everyone's now going, oh, well, he's had such a blind every game because it was a really good run, albeit off the back of an illegal setup. And then the other thing was his line-out throwing was really, really good. He actually won 100% of his line-outs after being
I was saying that.
After being the world's worst line-out thrower for the rest of the competition. So
I've torn it apart. Yeah, like none of that stuff's good. I mean, I think he won, was it 7 of 12 line-outs the week before? Let's not act like he's fixed his line-out issues.
Yeah. Anyway, there's still big holes in that game.
Yeah.
The other one
all I'll say about Kaitu is on Rugby Heaven this week, mate. I've never seen a more boring interview. It was literally a bring a pillow with you to the watch the show type of job. They were trying so hard to they're like, give us anything. And it's like he's never been interviewed before. Genuinely.
I don't think he has.
The time delay made it really hard though, when
Yeah,
they're trying to actually talk to Kaitu. You got to remember he's in Western Australia, so they're like
that's
20
a different
years
country
behind us.
No, but even still though, like, because they were like, all right, let's just like wait. I'm sure he'll say something, and he was just like, hi guys.
Wait,
like,
look, anyway, I feel like I've been harsh on him. I wish him the best. I have been, rightly so. I wish him the best.
I don't. Get out of the Wallaby squad, mate.
Mate, we can go into that again. That's clearly they got rid of the last 3 hookers last year. It's a statement piece. That's all it is. Let's not get too excited by it. But look, I'd love him to be a starting Wallabies hooker because we need one.
Yeah.
So if he can fix his line out throwing, it could be him, but he hasn't fixed it.
No. Look, the other one I had from this game was surely Isaiah Parisi has now lodged his application to be the next chiropractor. Because Brian Lima, man, I'll never forget that tackle he put on Hugard where he flew out and then, he gets up looking like an absolute
Neither
animal.
will Hogard. Still has nightmares.
100%. But, man, Isaiah Parisi was just chopping people left, right, and center. I just love how physical he is.
I was more impressed with his running of the ball. I think Nelson was talking about, he can hit people, but he's running with the ball. He does, there's few people we talk about who just seem to go play upper weight class. He's running like he's Namani Nadolo, but in a bloody halfback size package. You're like, what's going on here?
Look, I mean, he genuinely really excites me. And by all reports, he's saying he's found his love for rugby again. After losing it when he was at the Reds, he started to not enjoy rugby. He went to overseas for a little bit, then he went to league for a little bit, or vice versa. And he said he's now appreciating rugby as a game of chess, and he started to love it again. So hopefully he sticks to it because he's an exciting prospect.
What I love about him the most is that he looks so angry. We need more of that in the game. Like when he gets the ball or whatever, he looks like he's imagining you just killed his parents or something. Do you know what I mean? Like we need more of that.
Credit to him for still having a crack in D after being given that early red card as well. That takes some balls.
Yeah, or lack of brains. But hopefully balls.
Can we move on to what I think was probably the biggest talking point of the week, and that's Scott Barrett and the Crusaders coaching team knowing how to be terrible, terrible sports and having it down to a fine, fine art. So, like, to give you some context on this one, if you're not already following, Chiefs last play, Natua Akoi straight on the ball, pilfers, gets a penalty for trying to pilfer the ball. Crusaders pinged for holding on. Long arm penalty, so they obviously just going to tap it, kick it out, end of the game, Chiefs win. Scott Barrett, last play, can challenge anything he wants on Captain's Challenge. Pulls the referee over and goes, mate, I'm pretty sure he's put his hands down past the ball. I don't think it was a clean steal. I need you to check it as part of my Captain's Challenge. So obviously, if they go and have a look at that, if Akoi is not supporting his weight, if it's not the perfect textbook steal, then the penalty goes the other way and Crusaders have the kick to win the game. Here's the problem. Here's the problem before you jump in. Not a single ruck is being refereed correctly ever through this competition all year. So how can we possibly then pull this one up, which in actual fact, Akoi did absolutely perfectly, which I loved. It was the perfect steal. But let's say he did put his hands down and then get cleaned out. There's penalties time and time again from the defensive team doing exactly that. So you can't then have a Captain's Challenge and then referee it a different way.
Look, realistically, as someone who is a competitive person, just as yourself, and has spent some time...
Really?
Especially in the back row, but also as a captain, I do not blame him for doing that. Although it is frustrating to see, the issue is with the Captain's Challenge. The issue is not with his use of it. Bloody oath, you're going to use that in dying moments to win you a game.
Do you know
what? If you don't.
Yeah, do you know what I'm more Devo about? We will never get to see Richie McCaw and the finely crafted Captain's Challenges he would have come up with. You know what I mean? Like or Conrad. You imagine Conrad Smith. He's a bloody lawyer. Just like, sir, this is how I want to frame this. Just like, you're right. But it was all in the wording as well. The way they tried to say, the way they got the referee to ask for the challenge. Not like, was there foul play in the last breakdown? It was like, did his hands go past the ball? It was all in the wording. I think you were bang on about that. But you're right. For Akoi to have done it perfectly was amazing. I mean, if they looked at every breakdown, in slow-mo and the TMO, then, more than like 75% of them would be incorrect. It's just, that's why we love the game. Because
they'll change that rule. They'll absolutely change that rule. The other one that I had, my last one here, was just the Rebels-Brumbies game. All the things you can talk about that game. The biggest thing for me was far out. It was so physical. Like the physicality across Australian rugby right now is exceptional and the best I can ever remember seeing it. But this game, everyone was putting massive hits on everyone, and none more so than the man I talked up last week again, Rob Valetini. Oh, my God. He is so big and so dominant in contact. It's awesome.
And the best thing is that he knows it as well. Like he's very aware. He's a self-aware Terminator now, and I love that.
He's learnt that he can absolutely hurt anyone he wants in the field if he wants to.
Yeah,
it's so good. Yeah. Look, I'll jump across to some of my points. Mine's a bit more uniform. I'm not all over the shop like Harry there. Mine is about the class of some of these standout 10s. Just one position, Harry. That's all we're talking here. There's 3 that I want to bring up from the weekend. The first one is the class of Ben Donaldson.
Do you want to say Ben Batgar?
Yeah. It's Batcher. Is it Batcher or Batgar? Because either way, I don't really care. Where are you now, mate? Because he was talking junk about Ben Donaldson he wasn't talking junk. He was talking up Tane Edmed, who he didn't even start himself the week prior. But he basically, for me, Ben Donaldson just had all this pressure heaped upon him prior to the game, and he handled it like an absolute champion. I really enjoyed how he took the ball to the line. He didn't sit as deep as we've seen Will Harrison do in previous weeks with those centers outside him and some of the threats outside him. I think that's how we really should be playing with those guys in 12 and 13. So I was quite excited to see that. One of them ended up being a try to Jack Maddox as he's taken the ball to the line and had that little offload out the back of it. But look,
Can I ask you just on him? Will Harrison's fit and healthy for starter. Trans Tasman. How do you fit those guys into your team?
Will Harrison starts.
Yeah, look, I think Will Harrison.
At what position?
Will Harrison starts.
And then what about Donaldson?
He's got to be number
Bench.
22.
Mate, put him on 15. He came on at 15 heaps of times last year and looked really
That's
good.
true. It is
Just
true.
put him at 15. Maddox goes to wing, and Newsom can get the fuck out.
Oh, look,
I'm fine with that.
solution.
There's so many solutions.
Stage left. We are all for that. But no, I stop playing people out of position, mate. Donaldson, he's a 10. Put him on the bench. He looks.
No, but
really
look, I mean, he's a different player to Will Harrison. So yes, you can do all horses for courses, but never going to reach their potential if you're chopping and changing between them. Maybe the answer is that we do give him more of a chance at that 15 jersey. Maddox hasn't been performing there. We know he can kick. Boy, oh boy, he can kick. He kicked 100% of his kicks. One of them that just beautiful drop goal from the sideline when he ran out of time.
You talk about handling the pressure. That's the best example of that, isn't it?
That was so good. And he threw a couple offloads, made 19 tackles. Awesome.
So
but jumping,
is huge for a 10.
Huge.
Wowzers.
Jumping across to Domingo Miotti, the Argentine 10, who's technically the third choice 10 for the force.
That is not a technicality. You've just made that up.
No, he's been their third choice this year.
He's clearly their first choice 10.
He should have been their first choice, but they put two other 10s before him and waited until they crumbled.
Mate, the second he signed, John O'Lance went, he's their first choice 10.
Surely. But look, for me, he's not a runner that takes the ball to the line as much as I probably thought he did early on when we first saw him. But he's just a class 10. His ability to slot and choice to slot that drop goal, that composure that he can control the game with. No, it wasn't a hard kick to finish off the game, but I just think his kicks around the field, everything just showed composure for me.
I think you're right. That's it. He's class, right? Like we know he has those attacking skills and prowess, but he's just playing kind of like a test 10. Which is
what the Force need.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had been saying put Miotti on because we want attack at all costs, like just because they had no attack. But he actually is striking a really good balance, I think. So
I think we're going a little long in the tooth. I'll go my last one. Damien Mr. Clutch McKenzie. He kicked a penalty from the 78th minute to sneak a win past the Crusaders this week. Week before against the Highlanders, in the 86th minute, he did the same. He kicked a penalty, correct? Yep. And then the week before that,
your segment.
He scored a try and converted it at the back end of the game to beat the Blues by 3. That's 3 games on the trot that he has done it in the final moments to win the game for his side.
But man, that just means he's a goal kicker. That's all you're telling me.
No, one of them was a try and convert.
They're making small margins. He's a goal kicker.
One of them was the try that he converted himself in the final play.
He's an outside back. That's what you're telling me. He's an outside back that kicks goals.
So he scores tries and he kicks points when he needs to.
Does that make him that clutch? I don't know. None of them are being crazy hard kicks.
So wait. So a goal kicker that kicks penalties, especially when they're hard, he can't be clutch.
We all know he's been Mr. Clutch. As I said, we attribute 90% of the Chiefs' victories to him.
Damien McKenzie's dead for me. Now he's not in my fantasy team. He's dead to me.
Doesn't exist.
He carried me to 3
Very good. All right.
And he was the love
He's
of my
carrying
life.
me now. Craig.
You guys are right. Our main points, we've gone on a lot, so I'm going to rapid fire through mine. Mine was just a few players that really excited me on the weekend, but they either excite or have excited me. Tom Wright, real simple one. Obviously, it's easy to forget about his electric year last year that kind of propelled him into the Wallabies starting winger position. Yes, he hasn't really had that many opportunities to light it up yet. He's only been back 2 games from injury, but just that try he scored on the weekend, burning down the sideline 60 metres, leaving Frank Lamani for dead, I think just reminded everyone of his pace again. You know what I mean? That's someone we need with just out and out pace. Like Lamani, the last few weeks we've seen, he is certainly not slow. So that was good from Tom Wright. I'm excited for him. I can't remember how he featured in the Wallabies discussion last week on the pod, but was he the starting winger?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, for everyone.
Yeah. Very good. Campbell Magnay, the big man. Can we reclaim the big sauce from Tom Robbo and just claim it on Campbell Magnay? I don't know.
We
I
can
think
come
Campbell
up with
Magnay
something different, mate. We can come up with something different.
So he is the biggest of the sources. But he's been playing. He came back. He played 12 for the Rebels. He's 6'5", over 100 kegs in a centre. I personally think he's an outside centre, but I think he had a really good game, both
Especially that second
defensively.
half.
Sorry, say again.
Especially that second half. I agree. It was awesome.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to see him at outside centre this week, so he could be up against Parisi. That'd be an awesome matchup. But no, he was really good. He doesn't have the best acceleration, and maybe I'm not sure his lateral movement, whatever. But if he gets a bit of a run up, I mean, he's really hard to stop, and he's like a thoroughbred out in open space, mate. He gets a move on.
Holding the ball in one hand.
Yeah, that's it. So he was really he excited me. I want to see more from him. Rory Scott, a player that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, we just have this plethora of back rowers now, but they referred to the man as young Poey. And he kind of does. He looks very reminiscent of Poe. He doesn't quite have the quads. He's a little bit taller. But they call him young Poe because similar play style, and also apparently he is hitting the gym as hard. So it's a matter of time until he kind of fills out that frame. But he's a little bit taller, about the same weight class. But
For the record, has anyone ever just thought about quads when they talk about Poe? Surely it's just him strutting around with his shirt off with the world's biggest arms. Isn't that what you think of?
Arms
I think Rory Scott's gonna fill out to like sort of Pococky size, but
way taller. Yeah,
mate, it was those legs. It was those centaur legs that David Pocock had that meant you couldn't fucking move him when you go over the ball.
Yeah, he did. That's true.
But no, anyway, Rory Scott, really exciting. I really liked him. I'm sure Nelson was loving him. So so he was good. Speaking of back rowers, Will Harris didn't excite as much as Rory Scott, but I think he's really built into. He's started at 8 for the Tars the last few weeks. Certainly not having the kind of year that Harry Wilson had last year, but I think he's getting better and better, and kind of a little bit more of a silent achiever, just getting through mountains of work, lots of tackles, lots of carries. He's always present. I think he has like 90-something% tackle rate. He's been really, really good, Will Harris. So I'm excited. I mean, I know next year we have so Dempsey signed overseas. We've got Raboni signed back that we're all very excited about. But I think it's really great to have that competition in the Tars back row.
Let's not forget he is a year younger than Harry Wilson as well. So he's a young player and he's developing. So it's pretty exciting to see.
Very good. And look, we've already talked about Parisi. And look, I was surprised at this point. The only other player that really excited me, I can't believe that we've got 28 minutes into this podcast and Lachlan Boshier has not been mentioned. Wow, he was also a top fantasy scorer from the New Zealand Conference, which we will get into shortly. But wowzers, what did you boys think of the great man back?
Oh, mate, he looks great in my team.
Future All Blacks captain. There's a spot vacant, isn't there? There's a spot vacant.
Yeah, start him at 7, even when Kane comes back.
Yeah.
So Kane's done now. He doesn't have a chance to come back now. That's it. You think it's all over? Yeah.
Well, do you pick the guy that's there just because he's older and been around for longer?
We're not starting this combo again.
For 2 years in a row.
But no, look, Nelson has been that keen after picking up Boshier in the initial draft that he had both the Boshiers in his team the last few weeks just to make sure that someone was playing for him that was named Boshier. So well done, Nelson. Very good. All right, who wants to take us through the fantasy points? I've gone through my guys excited me on the weekend. One of you, fantasy points, please.
Yep, fantasy man of the week was the man that Nelson shot all over, Faleti Kaitu'u, 68 points with a try, 65 meters from 1 illegal carry and 3 legal carries, 1 line break, 11 out of 13 tackles, a turnover, 13 from 13 lineouts as well.
Uncontested.
Worth a mention, you got Angus Bell and 63 points. That's more like the Bell that we know from a fantasy perspective. Just huge run meters. And
Harry, how much do you enjoy this next one that's worth a mention?
Alex Newsom, 60 points. That literally wasn't entered in my competition's data, and then last minute sprung it on me, and then that cost me the round. So far out. The worst player in the world has defeated me in fantasy football. Lachlan Boshier, 58 points. We've talked enough about him. He is excellent. The super sub for the week, I mean, it was always going to be this bloke, wasn't it? Cody Taylor off the bench, 50 points in 33 minutes. That's a bit lower than I would have expected. He only scored 1.5 points a minute. And then you had the Captain Mudd Awards, aka the Rob Simmons Award. And
Here's whose name we do not say, whatever it is.
Mate, you put it in the notes. I just read what's on the teleprompter.
Who did that? That's a rookie.
I just read what's on the
I
teleprompter.
thought you were better than that.
No.
Yeah, all right, mate.
It was Sean Wainui, minus 6 points. And shout out to my winger, who is meant to be the game breaker, Sevu Reece, minus 3 points. So thanks, champ.
All you had to do to get the win was drop Sevu Reece, pick up Newsom.
I know.
It's a sad day, isn't it? Very good. All right. Well,
I just want to point out that the top 3 point scorers were all Aussie. Just need that to be said because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, last week it was like the Apes or something, wasn't it?
Top 6 Kiwis.
excellent. Ending the pod.